medium blogs. So those are fully technical. And you can find me at the Nishchal Raj on the internet. So it will be great if we catch up sometime. Yeah, so talking about the agenda. So first of all, I like to tell everybody that you can keep your notepad ready because there will be a few things that we can note, and we'll be talking about what this session is about, and what's done in it, and what's next for the thing, whichever you have learned, and what more is there for you, and what will be the end. So moving on. I'll say that opportunities don't happen, you create them. And it's always a thing which you will see in real life. So moving on to what's this. So we'll be talking on more about why this is necessary, so why the session should be there in the first place. So I just did some research on it, and I found out that there are on the average in the world, if you see, Android developers earn 1 crore plus salaries in a year, and that's for all over the world. If we find out the average, and it's the intermediate thing, and if you see the higher, so it's more than 2 crore, and if you see the lower, it's less than 1 crore. But these are just the numbers. So what you can get if you are building super great career in Android development. And moving on to, you can say that there are 3 billion plus active Android users. So there's a whole lot of big market there. And the Android developers, they are 5.9 millions as of now, and it's increasing day by day. But the first thing is there are less than 5% of them who are best Android developers. But not to worry, not everybody will be best, but there is good and there is better. So you just need to look into what things you can manage and what fundamentals you need to get to build a superb app or build a superb career in Android development. So we'll be looking into what other fields are there and how you can get great in this. So, what's done? Let's talk about what things you have achieved till now. So, I'll review with some concepts you may have gone through in the boot camp, and if it's further, then you will be learning those things. So, these are must things you should know in Android development. That is what is manifest. So, why the manifest is there? The first file you will see in Android development, that Android manifest.xml, what things it does, what things it contains in it, and why it's necessary. What are the Gradle files? What are the Gradle files for the main application or for the overall project? Why it is necessary? Where do you put the dependencies? So these things you must have learned in this boot camp. Activities and fragments, what are the differences, why they are used, the services, what are the services, what are the background services, what are the foreground for services, what are the intent services. So these things are there for if you're preparing for interview also. So these things come in handy, and if you are ready to learn into Android development or whatever things you have done, so these are the main points, I'll say. And going forward, intents, resources, where do you put the drawables, where do you put the asset files, the navigation graph. So if you're using an activity and you just want to build one application with one activity and of like 10 12 fragments or less than that or even more than that, so you can easily use navigation graphs. It just removes that transitional fragments things which we did old school. And what are the layouts, why we use constant layouts, why we need to use the managers so beautifully that we can manage the layouts in it, or how we can create the layouts programmatically. So these things are there. And why recycler view is there, why don't we use the list view more. So why recycler view is superb, and when we talk about loading so many of the photos, or if you see the lists. And coming on to architectures, I'd like to say the Android started from like MVC architecture, so model, view, and the controllers, and why it changed from there to MVP, then coming on to MVVM. So why view model came into play. So I suppose you guys have learned these things in the boot camp, or if not, so you can go through YouTube videos or ask your seniors. Even you can ping me to complete these things onto. And why, like latest, you can see that there is MBI. So it's a great thing. You can explore like why MBI came into play when MVVM was working great, and why there is retrofit, how we can manage the responses and the requests to the server through retrofit, why Glide is there, and what was the previous thing when Glide was not there, how we used to load the photos in Android applications, why Room is there. So from Room, I suppose you guys, if you don't know, so the Room is it's generally called the Room database. So you can learn about these things, why DI is there, dependency injection is there, why we need to use the dependency injections. So basically these concepts we must review if you are going for an interview, or if you are preparing for any job, or if you want to teach a particular person on face to face, or going through a YouTube things, or if you want to, you can create your own Udemy courses through these things. So if you are starting onto Android development and you have done these concepts fundamentally clear. So yeah, moving forward, we can see what's next. So that big surprise waiting for you, it can be a job, as I said in my first session. So it can be a high paying job, it can be a low paying job, but you can move forward with a job. And that's the thing where you will learn most of the things if from your senior, from your fellow employees. And you can create, of course, an application that earns. So if you are an Android developer and you have learned a few things that can build an Android application, so you must think on to how you can create an application that can earn, and that can provide a benefit to the users, the million of users present in the market. And these things, you can take it as a side project, or you can even go on to build your own startup using it. And you can start teaching on YouTube if you know the fundamentals and if you have the clear concepts of Android development. So these are the basic things everybody goes for. And if you want to, you can go on and check out all the things you can do using Android developments. But I have so many things more. So what's more, there are more surprises if you have done Android development. And those are the other fields I'll be talking about. So you can be an application developer for sure. Even you can be a backend engineer, and I'll come to that in the few more slides. You can also be a game developer if you have done Android development. You can, of course, and this is my favorite thing, Android security engineer. So there is a lot more things in it. And you can, of course, be a operating like a os engineer. So if you have done Android development and you know the fundamental things, you can play with the core APIs, and you can go on to GitHub and see the Android open source projects. And you can, of course, tweak it a bit, and you can see how the things are going on, and you can likewise learn how the operating system should work, and how you can tweak the Android system to run those operating systems you have created for Android. So these things, these are the other fields you can go for apart from having a job or creating your own application. And
Nishal, if you don't mind, when you're talking about OS engineer, like things like Android open source project, all of that would come under uh,
right, right,
that. Okay.
right, right. Yeah.
Right.
So because if I'll give an example of myself, so what I did in my college is that when the kernel was open sourced,
Mm-hmm.
so we just went and we just created our own ROM and then played around it to
Okay.
create those things. Even we destroyed a few phones, but
Okay.
that's okay. So these are the learning processes you go through.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys. So these are the things you can opt into if you have done Android development. And so what's the end, like if you have these things in there. And I'll be talking about how you can go into all those things. So destination, maybe it maybe will be the end. And I'll say those fields and all other fields, those all are connected if you have done one thing fundamentally right, and you know how the concepts work. So you can like just join the dots and see how the things are done. So going back onto this, how you can be a backend engineer if you know Android development or if you have done application development. So if you're using Kotlin, you can go through Ketur, and you can build your own backend thing and just see how the things are working there. If you have done Android development, you can play with Firebase, you can play with WebSockets to create your own games just with the views. And that's the thing we do at eloelo. You can just go on to and play the games. You can create the games using the views only. Like if you have, suppose you are creating a TikTok, and so tic tac toe, and you just have to manage the views like those grids. Or if you're comfortable with recycler views, you can create the recycler views in such a way that you can just get those numbers of the boxes and create that pattern, if that's a whole zero, or if player 2 is winning by just creating the whole x there. So these are the few games you can start on with. You can go on to creating something with the canvas also, where you can just give the people a whole lot of screen for the canvas, and they can play their own game inside that by creating their own tic-tac-toe or just the stone paper scissors things. So these things are there. And if I talk about Android security engineer, so this is the thing where you will be able to you should know actually so many things in Android. And by so many things I say like the core things, how the Android system is working, what things you should not do in manifest, or how you can handle the content providers in Android. So these things must come in handy, how you handle the responses, how you can like stop the MITM attacks in Android. So these things are there openly on the internet, and you can learn these things. Even you can sign up onto like HackerOne. These are the websites, and Bugcrowd. These are the websites where you can learn a bit of hacking. They also provide some platform and some data to like just play around it. You can go on to and on GitHub, and you can see the Android open source vulnerable application, and you can see how the application is created and what you should not do as Android developer to create a secure application. And if I talk about the OS engineers, so as I said earlier, you can go on to GitHub and see the open source application of Google, that whatever Android things they have created, you can go into and look into all the things there on in the internet. So everything is there, and you can mm, just log into GitHub. So what why I keep telling GitHub is that like I've learned myself all the things from GitHub and open source things, and I just give back it to the community. And that's the thing you should do. You just learn everything from GitHub, see how the projects are created, what you should not do, what you should do, and you'll just be looking into a great career if you are have done all these things. So yeah, coming back to how everything is connected, and what more is there, if it's the end or what's the destination. So we'll discuss a few roadmaps, and I can I want you guys to just ping me on the comments or in the question, I just whatever things you want to discuss in the roadmaps. So we can discuss on how you can be a application developer if you have done Kotlin or Java, or even you are like comfortable with Flutter, so you can create an application for sure. You can be a hybrid application developer. So if I talk about Flutter, so right now they have come with the Flutter 3, where you can create your own hybrid application. And that's not all for iOS or Android. It's for web, it's for Linux, it's for Windows. And I'm sure they will be creating superb things so that we can just use the same code base and run it on the all the hardwares. So that's the thing. And if you are really comfortable with the Android ecosystem and how the things work, and you have a clear concept of Android, so you can be a application architect also. So how the architecture should be, how you can create it a modular thing, how you can just write one component and run it through all the files, how you can create the dynamic components in Android. So these things come in handy. And if, as I said about the game development part, so you can just play with Firebase. You can just sign in and see how the Firebase gives you a great tool to create a game if you want something in real time. And if you have the oops concept clear, if you have the solid principles clear, so you can go on with the syntaxes of C# and see how the things are working there. So it's not just about a particular language in Android. So like if you have learned Kotlin and you have the clear concepts, so you can just go on to see other languages, and those all are same except the syntax is different. So you can just go on, and if you have Unity, you can create your own game in that, and then you can import the module in Android Studio, and then you can play around the functions to tweak it a bit for making it a great game. So that's how you can be like a game developer using if you have learned Android development. You can be a mobile engineer. So by saying mobile engineer, I mean you should be knowing so many things about a particular device, and you should be able to play with the core APIs there, like how the internal files are protected, how we can sandbox a particular application so that no other application can malfunction it. So these things are there. I already talked about the Android security engineer, and for the backend part, as I said, the K2, and as I said, Kotlin is there. So you just need to know how the things are working, and you can just start with Node.js also. If you have for web development, I'll say if you have done Flutter 3 or Flutter 2, or even if you have done React Native, so you are familiar with how the things work in web, because you can easily create a web module of the Flutter application you have created with the same code base, and you can see how the responses are there. Then you can inspect, like what things, how the div containers are there in web, and you can create those things using React. So you can just like learn one particular thing and go on to create so many things with it, just by knowing the concepts and the fundamentals. And for the last, I'll say you can if you have like more than 50% of knowledge, like how the things are working, and you are a better Android developer, so you, of course, you can be an Android lead engineer also. So you just need to know few more things than the Android engineers, and you just need to manage them, and you can just contribute to the organization, or you can create your own applications using this. So Nizam, if there is any comment in the comment box about any particular roadmap, so I'll be happy to go through any of these.
Yeah, so nothing's coming as of right now. Could you speak, Nishchal, about like how important these multi-platform languages will be going forward and stuff? Is that something that students should prioritize in their roadmap? Is that something you should look into specifically?
Okay, sure. So so I'll start with what things are there you can use. So first of all, there is React Native, and secondly there is Flutter. Now there is Kotlin multi-platform that's coming up. So if I say, if you want to just be a person, or a particular so a person who just want to create an Android application, or you want to master in the Android development field, so you can of course just go with a particular language. If you're getting like a React Native, just create the Android part. If you're going with Flutter, just focus on the Android part. If you are using Kotlin, so just focus how the things are working in Kotlin. And you can also use Jetpack Compose. You can go with Kotlin multi-platform and just create the Android part. But if you're someone who wants to know whole process of a particular device, that small Android phone, so how the Android phone and how the iOS, these things are different, what things we need to tweak from the Android code so that it can run in the iOS part, and you want to open up a great domain for yourself, because suppose there are 100 Android engineers, and on them you are a single person who knows how to create something in iOS also, and how to create something with web also. So that will the thing when your Flutter knowledge or your React Native knowledge, that comes in handy. So it's just upon a particular person what he wants in the future. So but for me, I'll say I've done the React Native also, just to know how things work there. And if somewhere I want to contribute to a particular startup or a particular friend, or into an open source project, so I should be able to know how React Native works, how Flutter works, to create that application or to contribute to that startup. So it's just your choice. And for me, if I'll say, so just go with the hybrid one after 1 year of exploring Android, because you will be having so many knowledge of Android development, like how the things are working, that it will be easy for you to move on to the hybrid thing. And at that time you can of course choose Flutter or the Kotlin multi-platform. So these two are my favorite if I talk about the hybrid application development. Yep.
Awesome. Also, someone's asked like to explain a little bit more about application architect.
Application architect, yeah. The first thing you should know is that the concepts, as I said earlier, and I say these things more often, the fundamentals and the concept should be very much clear, that you are not writing or creating something that will break, or that may have like super superb crashes. So that should not be there. And the second thing, you should be knowing what different architectures are there, and you should be able to create your own architecture. If I say, like if I have if I'm using mbvm, so I'll be able to create a particular module of the application, and how I can create a particular module that can be downloadable from the internet. Like if you have played PUBG, you will see that at first they download a particular module. So how you can create a particular application that can download a particular module, and when that module's work is done, then you are uninstalling it at the runtime. So these things will keep the application small sized and even faster. So you should be knowing the architectural part of Android really well, and how it uses the system's RAM, and how the batteries can be optimized, how you can run everything on the like the low internet. If the person is having 2 GB, like right now we are facing like a few of the issues, that if a person is having 2 GB of RAM and they're having Facebook, they're having Instagram, WhatsApp. So these all will take the background thing. But how you have architected the application very well, that it can run on a low RAM devices or the less battery devices. So I'll say you can just go on to GitHub and search for the Android architecture, and you can see what different architectures are there, and how you can play around it. And you if you are moving on to Android architect field, so you must be knowing the modular part, as I said. So how you can create a modular application, how you can so suppose let me give you an example. So suppose you are creating a news application, and you have the home pages, you have the login part, and you have your profile part, and one screen is there for playing the news. And if a user logs in, and it has he has onboarded, so he won't be needing that onboarding screen now, because he's already onboarded. So you can just uninstall that module, and the application size will decrease, and it will work faster in a low RAM. And if you're on the home screen, you have whatever you have created, a particular recycler view, or different fragments. So how you can keep these things as modular as possible, so that it can take from the same code, and it just needs different parameters to work on. And it will just decrease the size of code base also. And also the functionality will be better, I'll say. Yep. What's more in there?
I think that's it for now, Initial. We can go forward.
Good man. Yeah, so that's all. And I'll up for any Q&A, anything that is up for questions.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can hit them up in the Q&A section. If there are any questions that you want to upvote, please do that as well. Besides that, Nishal, why don't you give us an idea about how you got into Android development as well?
Yeah, sure. So what happened is that, like after my college, I didn't want any job particularly, but
Okay.
I had in the last year when the placements were going on. So I didn't sit in the placement, and I just went on to looking into what other fields are there to explore.
Mm-hmm.
So I did like 10 plus technologies I learned at that time in the 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I just got a opportunity in a company called Scogo Networks.
Mm-hmm.
So they are building something related to IoT
Uh-huh.
and Android applications. So how the tickets can be automated, and why the middle person should not be there, because everything was manual. So
Mm-hmm.
he just saw my profile, because I did those many things in 1 year. And he just asked me that if you will be able to do the Android development, then we can go on to, and you can just contribute to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went there for Android development, so I was surprised, because I had to work on React then, and I
Mm-hmm.
had no knowledge of React.
Yeah.
Because I did Golang, Python, and at that time Perl, Ruby also. but I
Mm-hmm.
had no knowledge of React.
Mm-hmm.
And but I knew that how I learned all those things in 1 year. So I just went on to GitHub and see how the React applications are created. I saw some crash courses on YouTube,
Uh-huh.
that why React is there and why we need to create, what are the components. So it took me like 4 days to know like 10% of React,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever they have created. I saw the code base, and it
Mm-hmm.
was really modular. So that's why I say, if the code is really modular, the person who is coming, he will be able to really find it useful to understand. So it
Mm-hmm.
was really modular, and it was helpful for me to
Okay.
learn those things. And I just went, first thing what I did is that, if I have to create a screen, I just went on and copy pasted, and
Mm-hmm.
then I just changed a few parameters and see how that those things are working on.
Yeah.
And I did that for 1 year, and after that they had planned for Android development, and I was really happy. But at the same time, I saw that there is dependency injection in the market, and
Mm-hmm.
I knew a bit of Kotlin at that time, and I
Mm-hmm.
started on with Kotlin, and I learned dependency injection. It took me 1 month to like learn how the dependency injection work in Android.
Uh-huh.
And after that, I just went on to like doing whatever things that comes up. I even did AWS Lambda functions. I created backend functionalities also,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I saw that, like, okay, so whatever things come up, just do it. And that's why I said that opportunities don't come, you just need to create them.
Wow.
So
Okay.
if I wouldn't have learned those many things, I wouldn't know that how I can learn like so many things in few time.
Wow. Okay.
So after that, I just got profiles of Android development only, but I
Mm-hmm.
know that I can do so many things. So I just do the Android development part and contribute to other startups.
Okay. Wow. That's awesome. So I don't think there are any other questions coming up, Nishal. Anything else you want to discuss? Anything else you want to go over?
I'll say, if a particular person is he has done Android development, like your bootcamp is really great, man, and I hope that people start getting their own application. And
Absolutely.
because and first create that, I will say to everyone that create your own application and push it to Play Store, and when you'll
Mm-hmm.
see the downloads increasing, you'll really be proud of that application,
Uh-huh.
whether it's a calculator or a particular small game
Yeah.
or whatever thing it is, whatever
Mm-hmm.
thing. So it will be really great, and whatever thing a particular person is working on, just keep
Mm-hmm.
writing blogs on it, so that open source community can learn.
Yeah.
And no matter if it's wrong or right, so there is other person to correct it, and just
Mm-hmm.
push it to GitHub and make it open source, so that people can contribute to it, and you
Mm-hmm.
can know that what different things are there.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
try
great.
to write
Mm.
code
So I
modeler.
think
Yeah.
even this is something that Siddharth was also saying last week. We had another speaker before, Nitin Prakash. He was also saying same thing, that if you want to learn Android development, attending these boot camps is great, but you
Right.
should start doing a project, like any project. Just start
Right.
putting something out there and stuff.
Exactly.
And I think if the people who are attending, besides posting it on GitHub, besides posting it, like posting blogs, maybe if you have any questions or doubts, there's our Discord community as well. You can come on there, you can ask questions, we can try and help each other out on this as well. So we have a question in the comments. Anusha Tomar is asking, which course would you recommend for Android development? So obviously, the first thing that you should do is attend our bootcamp. Our entire
Right.
playlist will be available on YouTube as well. We'll be sharing that once the bootcamp ends if you missed the previous sessions. Other than that, Nishal, any other resource you think would be useful for students who are starting out?
Right. So, see, there is a rule for me. What I do is that I don't do any courses as of whatever things I've learned. I I just follow few things which I'll suggest to everybody. First, go on to YouTube, and whatever thing you want to learn, just type that. If it's Android development, just type Android development crash course and see what is there. And you will, of course, the person will speak about a few of the concepts. So go on to Google and learn about those concepts. Google Code Camp is there, Code Labs is there. You can, of course, learn so many things from Google Code Labs that you don't need any courses. So what I did is that just went on to Google Code Labs and saw what features they are providing there, what other fields what other things there in Android is to learn, and I did all those. And after doing that, you will be like what Google recommended you, you are doing that. And of course it won't be wrong, so it will be like absolutely to the point thing. And you will of course learn so many things. And when you have done Google Code Labs, just go on to GitHub, find a project that is lightweighted, maybe a library, or you can also go on to my GitHub and see a library and just try to contribute into that. See how the functions are working, plug into your phone and just run the application and see what things are working on, how you can modify it. Go on to the readmes and see what things the person wants to be contributed, and just give a PR to them. And like doing these things on and on, you will of course like learn so many things in whatever technology you want, like whatever technology. Even if you are going on with, if you don't want like Android development, you saw the boot camp and you want like, okay, so like it's a bit complex and I don't want to go with Android development, you can choose the web. You can do the same thing. If you're going on with like a core thing, if I talk about blockchain, you can do the same thing. You can go on with the crash course, you can find the repositories on GitHub, you can run it on your system and you can tweak it, you can see what things are there. Because uh, one of my teacher told me once is that if you don't know something, you just copy paste it and just try to tweak it a little bit, on and on and on, and you will learn, like you will know that you have created a whole different thing. So that's how you can go on. So like
Yeah.
Elon Musk also said, if you have like whole internet for free, why you will like to do something with the courses? So just
Awesome.
find on the YouTube,
Very
there will
true.
be so many things, so many things.
It's very, very true. So you're saying the same approach. You can, well, if you learn the fundamental way to approach how to learn, there's no limit to what you can learn.
Right, great.
So that's great. Any other advice for
And
these students and stuff who are taking part? Any last like thoughts that you want to share with them?
yeah, so one thing I just got in my mind is that if you're creating an Android application, and if you are into a job or anything, so and you want your application to be lightweighted, and you want a functionality that you don't want, like you don't have, or you just saw a library or a SDK that works for it, and that library is heavy or the SDK is heavy, or if it's not heavy. So
Mhm.
what you can do is that I'm just against the library and these things, because suppose a person blocks that library, then your functionality will be hampered. So
Yeah.
what you guys can do for that, and what I do is that, go onto that library, see the code, see the main thing which you want, and pick it up, tweak it a bit, and just put it onto your code and create your own library, lightweighted library which you want, and you can
Hmm.
use it as a modular thing. So that's the thing we do. And I suggest all the Android developers to do the same thing. Like if you see that the and library is heavy or the SDK is heavy.
Mm. Wow. Great advice, Nishal. Maybe we can do like a session later once this batch of bootcamp students get a bit more comfortable, do a couple more projects. Maybe we can do a session later on like more advanced topics with you and stuff as well, so that they can become comfortable on how to take it to the next step as well.
Yep, right.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Nishal. I don't want to take up too much of your time either. Thanks for coming by and teaching these students. I think they're quite happy with the content that you've given them.
Correct.
Um, Thanks so much, man. It was really nice talking to you. I don't want to keep you tied up
Great.
here as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's my pleasure. Great, man.
So again,
Thank you.
guys, you can follow Nishchal Raj at Nishchal Raj. You can just search for it on Google.
Yeah.
You'll find all of his social credentials there. Nishchal, correct me if I'm wrong. You write on Medium, and they can follow you on Twitter and LinkedIn as well. Any other channel that they can reach out to you on?
So yeah, so they can just go on to Google and just type in the Nishchal Raj, and they will see all my social profile there.
Yeah.
And there are yeah, so everything is there, and like
Awesome,
all the social medias.
awesome, awesome. Awesome. That's
I'm
great.
mostly active on LinkedIn and Twitter,
Awesome.
so that's the place I'll be found.
Yeah. And also, I think if the people have any other general questions about Android development, you can post it on Discord. We'll be there to clear any doubts and stuff that you have. We have a channel specifically for that, so that'll be there. If you want to reach out to Nishal there as well, you can just ping us and we'll set up another session as well. Yeah. Thanks, Nishal. Thanks so much for your time, man.
Thanks, man.
So, guys, that was Nishchal Raj. It was great talking to him. Next up, we have Siddharth Sharma, our Android instructor for the main session. He'll be taking I think, second last session for this bootcamp. The next session will be more about what next steps. So, right now, I think let's just get started. Siddharth, what do you think about Nishal's session?
It was great. It was really awesome. Like Mishra's content is the first session Ishtal took was also very great,
Yeah,
and this
it
too.
was a great first session.
Mm.
Yeah.
Always some great insights from an industry expert.
Exactly, exactly. That's perfect. So, do you think when you were starting out as well, having like some information like this would have been helpful for you in your journey
Yeah,
as well?
so much man. Like I'm just wondering ki I should have started at I should have known Nishchal already.
सही not bad. At least these students are getting an opportunity.
Mm.
ठीक है.
One,
So,
one thing I would like to add ki as you guys level up to more advanced Android, first you should know how to learn. Like
yeah,
you guys can code this. You should learn how to learn.
mm, that's the hardest thing to learn. Huh?
Yeah.
See. Yeah. Awesome. So, guys, Nishal also left a message in the chat. If you guys want to reach out to him, you can. It's completely fine. So that let's move on to the main session.
Cool. So our today's session is about room, which Nishal also,
Mentioned.
okay,
Mhm.
which Nishal also mentioned. Yeah, I have to reopen this. This is some permission issue. Give me 5 seconds. I'll
Yeah,
reopen.
yeah, sure, no worries. So I think Siddharth will have to, yeah, Siddharth has to leave and rejoin the session. So we'll be taking up, this session will be room. Nishal just touched upon that during his speech as well. Siddharth will be covering that. After this, the next session that we take will be probably next week as well. And on that, we want to focus more on how we'll cover up, we'll share a playlist of all the sessions we've taken so far. So 5 session, we'll create a playlist on YouTube that we'll share with you on mail and on our Discord as well. And following that, we'll maybe give you guys a list of projects that you can start out with just to get started. Um, and what would be great is if we could kind of create a competition around that. We put up the details and everything there. For the people who complete the most number of projects on a list or something like that, and push it to GitHub. So the idea is to kind of gamify the Android education journey. Is what our thought is here. So we'll be discussing it internally with Siddharth as well. Once we have a clear idea on how to go about this, we'll share that information with you. So make sure you attend the next session because in that session we'll be covering all of these details specifically as well. So besides that, just a reminder for all the people who will be giving away some goodies and prizes and stuff at the end of the session. So, t-shirts, stickers, things like that. This is also something that we have planned. We're hoping that we can get that sorted out and out to you. Probably not next week, but hopefully before next week. So you guys stay tuned to that. Speak to we'll have a word with the organizers at your college and stuff, and make sure that the stuff gets to you as well. Right. So guys, also while Siddharth is taking a minute, you guys can go ahead and log in to app.moreficent.com and create your account. Students who are taking part in the more efficient session, I think, who are taking part in this bootcamp, they have access to a free trial of Moreficent for an extended period of time. So I would suggest that you go ahead, create an account, try it, open Android Studio, try it out, and see how it works. Right. So you can follow the link and take it from there. So that your
Yes.
screen share working.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Let me know if my screen is visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So first, like in every bootcamp, let's see what actually room is, and just add this library name and add Android as a suffix and see what the documentation says. Like, this should be the single source of truth for your Android journey. First, always refer to the docs. And I know it might be hard in like in the beginning, but
Mhm.
you'll know how to uh,
I think it's
मतलब-
probably one of the most important skills that you need to develop.
yeah, it's actually a skill to read a documentation.
Yeah, it's one of the important things that they don't teach you in college as much, that you have to refer to documentation and learn how to read it properly and stuff, right?
Yeah, and maybe someday you'll also have to write one
Yeah, you
so
also
that
have to write
other
documentation.
developers can see.
Yeah, which is a very painful thing to do also.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, uh, Room library, persistence library provides an abstraction layer or SQLite to allow more robust database access while harnessing the full power of SQLite. So first you need to see what SQLite is. तो ये भी देख लेते हैं. SQLite Android. Android SQLite is a very lightweight database which comes from Android OS. So here is the main thing that we want, database. So SQLite MySQL जैसे ही उसको समझ लो, पर थोड़ा सा अलग है. Don't quote me on this, but it's basically a database for your Android device. So एक तो आपका सर्वर के अंदर database होता है, and there's a local database too on your Android device. That's what also makes Android uh, some complex stuff, because you need to sync your local database with the server database, but that's a different thing. So, Room database, Room library is basically an abstraction over the SQLite database. So, it provides you with some common interface and with some common functions, so that you don't have to write the SQLite commands yourself. मतलब वो आपको थोड़ा इजी करके दे देगा. जैसे अगर आपको प्रॉपर एक एसक्यूएल क्वेरी लिखनी है, तो वो आपको इजी करके दे देगा, सो दैट यू कैन इंटीग्रेट दैट विद द एंड्रॉइड फ्रेमवर्क. ठीक, बार एक बार इसको ऊपर ऊपर से इम्प्लीमेंटेशन लेट्स सी. लेट्स सी दिस लिंक. ठीक है, एक बार ये देखते हैं क्या बोल रहा है. So this library has primary component, database class, data entities, DAO, which is data access objects. So database class holds database and serves as the main access point for the underlying connection for app persisted data. Data entity. So your app will be interacting with this DAOs. If you need any method, like there's a database and you have uh, mentioned a method get all items. So वो item, to call that method, you need to like have this DAO object. You'll call that method on this DAO object. So this is the uh, basic entity, basic class from which your app will get the items and interact with the database. अब डेटा एंटिटी तो सिंपल है, जो भी आपका मतलब टेबल्स वगैरह है. एंड डेटाबेस क्लास आपका इस पूरे को रैप करता है. थोड़ा और समझ में आएगा जैसे जैसे मैं नीचे जाता हूँ. सो दिस इज द डाओ विच आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट. एक यूजर टेबल होगा आपका, ये आपके एंटिटी है एक यूजर. तो यूजर के पास एक आईडी है, फर्स्ट नेम है, लास्ट नेम है, इसका टाइप स्ट्रिंग है, नलेबल है. ठीक है, ये एक आईडी है. तो इसको प्राइमरी की बना रखा है इन्होंने. एंड ये कॉलम है, फर्स्ट नेम लास्ट नेम. ठीक है, अब इन्होंने एक डाओ बनाया. तो एज यू कैन सी दे हैव यूज्ड दिस एनोटेशन दैट इज @DAO. तो दिस इज व्हाट दे वर रेफरिंग टू इनिशियली कि रूम प्रोवाइड्स एन एब्स्ट्रैक्शन ओवर एसक्यूलाइट. तो ये क्या करेगा, आप जैसे आप इसको एनोटेट करोगे कुछ कोड जनरेट कर देगा, ताकि वो कोड आपको ना लिखना पड़े. इसलिए इन्होंने एक ऐसी, रूम वालों ने ऐसी एनोटेशन बना दी कि आप एसक्यूलाइट को यूज़ करते हो, जो आप कोड लिखते वो आपको अपना लिखना पड़े, आप कुछ सर्टेन एनोटेशन यूज़ करो, एंड डेवलपर्स के लिए थोड़ा ईजी हो जाए. You can also see how to use SQLite, but right now it makes no sense. But you should know how SQLite is done and how it is used. Then you will appreciate this room library. Like we did in the list view in the second session, we first implemented the list view and then used the recycler view. Then we saw why we should appreciate and why the Google developers made that API. So similarly for that, अब इन्होंने क्या किया है कि कुछ सर्टेन इंटरेक्शन इन्होंने डिफाइन करी है, कुछ मेथड्स डिफाइन करे हैं जो कि डेटाबेस के साथ इंटरेक्ट करेंगे, लाइक गेट ऑल है, लोड ऑल बाय आईडीज, फाइंड बाय नेम, इंसर्ट ऑल, डिलीट, बेसिक CRUD ऑपरेशंस बोल सकते हैं इसको। ठीक है, और एक क्वेरी एनोटेशन भी है, इंसर्ट एनोटेशन है, डिलीट एनोटेशन, ये सब रूम प्रोवाइड करता है हमको। ये आपका डेटाबेस क्लास है जो उन्होंने ऊपर डेटाबेस दिया था, ये वो वाला क्लास है। तो ये क्या करेगा, आपको एक डेटा डाओ प्रोवाइड करेगा। ये एब्स्ट्रैक्ट फंक्शन, अब क्या है, इन्होंने देखो एक एनोटेशन बना रखी है @database एंड कुछ एब्स्ट्रैक्ट फंक्शन है। तो दिस इज काइंड ऑफ अ सिंटैक्स और अ सिग्नेचर दैट रूम लाइब्रेरी वांट्स यू टू इम्प्लीमेंट। मतलब यू कैन नॉट चेंजेस अपने हिसाब से कि इसको एब्स्ट्रैक्ट ना बनाऊं, इसको ना बनाऊं। वो दे रिक्वायर यू टू मेक दीज एब्स्ट्रैक्ट एंड यूज द सेम सिग्नेचर। अब अगर जहाँ पे you want to access the DB, you have to create this room with the database builder, provide it an application context and the app database class, उसको build कर देंगे, then you will have this DB, and DB के अंदर से फिर हमने user DAO उठा लिया, जो हमने इधर ये user DAO mention किया था, you can see that this is public। तो इसने क्या किया, इसका app database का एक ऑब्जेक्ट बना लिया, वो DAO अपने हिसाब से उसको सॉरी रूम को अपने हिसाब से जैसे भी उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करना है वो बना के दे देगा। तो ये डेटाबेस बिल्डर के हमने दे दिया। अब ये डेटाबेस बिल्डर की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि हाउ टू इम्प्लीमेंट दिस ऐप डेटाबेस क्लास। एज यू कैन सी दैट ऐप डेटाबेस वाज एब्स्ट्रैक्ट, तो उसकी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन कहीं ना कहीं होगी, वो रूम करेगा, उससे हमें मतलब नहीं है। तो आपने डॉट बिल्ड कॉल किया तो उसने इसका ऑब्जेक्ट बना के दे दिया। कहने का मतलब ये है कि इफ़ यू गो समवेयर इनटू द oops, तो ये एक एब्स्ट्रैक्ट है, एन एब्स्ट्रैक्ट क्लास कांट हैव एन ऑब्जेक्ट, यू नीड टू क्रिएट एन इम्प्लीमेंटेशन फॉर दैट। तो इसका ये क्या करेगा, डेटाबेस बिल्डर इस एब्स्ट्रैक्ट क्लास का एक इम्प्लीमेंटेशन बना देगा, एंड वो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन का ऑब्जेक्ट हमने यहाँ पे गेट कर लिया। अब इसके अंदर से हमने डाओ उठा लिया, एंड डाओ में से कुछ सर्टेन मेथड जो भी हमने डिफाइन कर रखे हैं उसको हम यहाँ से कॉल कर सकते हैं। तो सिंपल है, हमने फिर से गो थ्रू कर लेते हैं जल्दी से। एक एंटिटी है, डाओ है, डेटाबेस है। डेटाबेस के अंदर हमने यूज़र डाओ डिफाइन कर रखा है। डाओ क्या करेगा, एंटिटी के साथ इंटरेक्ट करेगा। हमने इसको यूज़ करने के लिए, अब इसको एक्चुअली ऐप में कैसे यूज़ करना है, तो हमने इस कमांड के थ्रू हमने डेटाबेस बना लिया, डेटाबेस के अंदर से डाउ उठा लिया। अब हम डाउ कैसे इंटरेक्ट करेंगे, सिंपल 3 स्टेप्स। इसको याद नहीं रखना क्योंकि लाइब्रेरीज चेंज होती रहती है, अब इसको हम याद करने थोड़ी बैठेंगे। अगर आप यूडेमी यूट्यूब के अंदर डेवलपर्स को देखोगे, देन यू कैन सी दैट मतलब उनको पता है, वो ऐसे ऐसे डॉक्यूमेंटेशन नहीं देखते, वो डायरेक्ट कोड करते हैं। वो इसलिए क्योंकि दे हैव एक्सपीरियंस यूजिंग दिस लाइब्रेरी, उनका हाथ बैठा हुआ है, दे हैव देयर मसल मेमोरी। तो उनको पता रहता है कि अब ये करना है, अब ये करना है, अब ये करना है। पर वो रटते नहीं है उसे, वो मतलब इट कम्स विद एन एक्सपीरियंस, बट यू डोंट हैव टू लर्न दिस। मतलब तुम्हें ऐसे रट्टा नहीं मारना कि अच्छा अब ऐसे करना है, ऐसे करना है, और कोई इंटरव्यू होगा तो मैं रट के चले जाऊंगा। अगर कोई आपसे इंटरव्यू में पूछेगा कि इम्प्लीमेंट दिस रूम लाइब्रेरी, देन यू कैन ऑलवेज आस्क हिम इफ आई कैन सी द डॉक्यूमेंटेशन ऑफ दैट, बिकॉज नोबडी लर्न्स एन एपीआई। एपीआई हर रोज चेंज होती है, हो सकता है कि इसमें कुछ चेंज हो जाए, तो मैं उसको याद करने थोड़ी बैठूंगा। ठीक है, अब ये पेज तो यहाँ पे ख़त्म हो गया। एक बार थोड़ा कोड की तरफ भी देख लेते हैं। अब ये लाइब्रेरी एक्सटर्नल, तो इसके लिए हमें डिपेंडेंसी डालनी पड़ेगी, तो डिपेंडेंसी डाल लेते हैं। कोटलिन नोटेशन प्रोसेस टूल कैप्ट, कोटलिन सिंबल प्रोसेसिंग केएसपी। ठीक है, I guess I'll need to add coroutines dependency too. ठीक है, रूम डाल लिया, केस पे डाल लिया। लाइन नंबर 47 कैप्ट। अच्छा, बस आई गेस दिस इज ऑप्शनल, तो इसको हटा देता हूँ। द कैप ने डाला हुआ, ठीक है। Let's also see if this works without this. अच्छा, वैसे एरर मेरे को भी याद नहीं रहते, तो उसको अगर कोई दिक्कत आएगी तो वी कैन ऑलवेज ट्रैक ओवरफ्लो। एंड एक्चुअली यू विल हैव टू बी इन द हैबिट कि आपको मतलब डेली बेसिस पे कुछ ग्रिडल एरर आते रहेंगे। लेट्स क्लियर आउट दिस कोड। लेट्स सी इफ आवर डिपेंडेंसी इज वर्किंग फाइन और वी नीड टू ऐड दैट कैप्ट वाला थिंग, तो उसको भी डाल देंगे। डाउ, ठीक है, दैट वुड बी एन इंटरफेस। वी ऑल्सो नीड टू क्रिएट एन एंटिटी, तो ये एंटिटी मैं एज इट इज कॉपी पेस्ट कर लेता हूँ। मतलब इसके लिए थोड़ा सा यू विल ऑल्सो नीड टू लर्न हाउ relational tables, relational databases work. ठीक है, अब लेट्स गिव इट सम बेसिक गेट का दे देते हैं अभी, गेट का, एंड आई गेस इंसर्ट एंड डिलीट। var args, and now we also need to create a database, app database, and that was abstract, चलो तो अभी बना लेंगे। ठीक है, एंड इसकी एनोटेशन रिकॉर्ड दिस। अच्छा, इधर एक वर्जन नंबर है, तो व्हाट दिस वर्जन नंबर डज इज कि आपने कुछ सपोज टेबल के अंदर कुछ चेंज कर दिया, देन यू नीड टू इंक्रीज दैट वर्जन, बिकॉज उसके बिना यू विल हैव इनकंसिस्टेंट स्टेट, एंड उसको अवॉइड करने के लिए क्या करता है रूम की अपनी तरफ से आपको क्रैश कर देता है थ्रोइंग एन एरर की यू हैव नॉट इंक्रीज्ड अप अ वर्जन। तो मान लो अगर आपके पास पहले फर्स्ट नेम था और सपोज कि यहाँ पे कुछ मनी इन रुपीज़ था, एंड आपने उसे टेबल में चेंज करके मनी इन डॉलर कर दिया, एंड आफ्टर एंड सपोज अ यूज़र वॉज ऑन वर्जन नंबर 1, एंड अब उसने आपकी ऐप अपडेट करी, तो आपके नए वाले ऐप अपडेट में क्या था कि वर्जन नंबर 2 था, तो वो जो उसका मनी इन रुपीज़ वाला डेटा था, यू ऑल्सो नीड टू माइग्रेट दैट टू द न्यूअर वर्जन, राइट। सो एक बार फिर से रिपीट करता हूँ मैं। सपोज मैं एक यूज़र हूँ, मेरे पास एक टेबल है जिसके अंदर मनी इन रुपीज़ है, ठीक है, एंड उसका वर्जन नंबर 1 है टेबल का, एंड आप ऐप डेवलपर हो, आपने एक नई अपडेट निकाला है जिसके अंदर नए कोड के अंदर वर्जन नंबर 2 है, एंड वो मनी इन रुपीज़ को आपने चेंज कर दिया मनी इन डॉलर के अंदर। तो अब जब ऐसी आप ऐप अपडेट करोगे, तो जो मेरा मनी इन रुपीज़ वाला था डेटा, वो आपको चाहिए होगा मनी इन डॉलर के अंदर। सो फॉर दैट वील हैव टू राइट अ माइग्रेशन फंक्शन। तो वो रूम क्या करेगा कि आपका माइग्रेशन फंक्शन के हिसाब से आपका जो मनी इन रुपीज़ वाले डेटा था उसको अपने आप मनी इन डॉलर वाले कॉलम में जाकर डाल देगा। यू कैन ऑल्सो सी हाउ टू राइट माइग्रेशन फंक्शन इन रूम। ठीक है, ये बना दिया मैंने, यूज़र क्लास दे दिया, ठीक है, what else does this need? ठीक है, function user top. ठीक है, अब इधर क्या करते हैं हम? Let's write a companion object. एक वो रूम बिल्डर वाला एक काम करते हैं, इसी के अंदर ही बना लेते हैं, so that we don't have to always write this. Private latent var, or else let's define this in a label. So एक यूजर डाओ मैंने बना लिया, ठीक है, इसका टाइप में दे देता हूँ यूजर डाउ न लेबल, इसको स्टार्टिंग में नल दे दिया, एंड इसको ठीक है, इसको ऐसे नाम देते हैं डाउ बोल देते हैं, गेट यूजर डाउ. रूम, लेट्स इंपोर्ट दिस, इंपोर्ट कर लिया, एप्लीकेशन कॉन्टेक्स्ट, लेट्स यूज दिस बॉक्स. अच्छा, anyways let's remove this from companion object. So this is also a cool thing, what you can see if you are getting stuck in an implementation, let's just check out the GitHub code.
Another thing that people should learn how to do
Ah,
when they're actually working a job.
so these kind of things are like, suppose I'm setting up a room here, so this will be a one time thing. मैं जब अगली बार आऊँगा तो मैं हर बार ये चीज़ नहीं करूँगा. So suppose you are working in a company, तो
Mhm.
उसके रूम के मतलब वहाँ पे रूम का ये वाला कोड सब सेटअप है.
Okay.
So it's like कि you are only coding this in a
Mhm.
year or so,
Mhm.
unless you revamp this code.
Okay. Mm.
So you can't just like rot learn this कि इसको हमने रट लिया, वो
Mhm.
रटा ही नहीं जाएगा because you don't use it that much.
Okay. Mm.
So for that we'll need to see the implementation code lab. Android with a view. Let's see this. अच्छा तो code दे देगा. Let's see this. ठीक है. This is adding up a room DB. ठीक है, so what this has done कि इसने इसको singleton class बना लिया. ठीक है, इसको हम भी ऐसे करते हैं, इसको स्टैटिक बना लेते हैं. So this companion object basically works like a static code. So this isn't related to the object of this app database. तो यहाँ पे मैं बना लेता हूँ प्राइवेट ना बना के, ये चलो प्राइवेट बना लेते हैं. And this returns user DAO, and we need to check कि if DAO is equally is not equal to null. इसको पहले ऐसे कर लेते हैं. If this is equal to null, then we'll initialize this, else will return as it is. यहाँ पे मैं DAO को रिटर्न कर दूंगा. with an assertion, not actually thinking of any synchronization. Context और application context. ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है यार, इसको ऐप कॉन्टेक्स्ट के लिए मेरे को बनाना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, इसके अंदर एक ले लेते हैं कॉन्टेक्स्ट. ये ठीक है. डॉट बिल्ड यूजर डॉट. इसमें कुछ इश्यूज हैं. कह रहा है रूम डेटाबेस, दिस रिक्वायर ऐप डेटाबेस. अच्छा, दिस नीड्स टू एक्सटेंड फ्रॉम रूम डेटाबेस. अभी फिक्स हो गया, बट व्हाट दिस विल डू, दिस विल एवरी टाइम क्रिएट अ डीबी. बट दैट इज ओनली इफ. हाँ ठीक है, ये भी चलेगा. ठीक है, चलेगा. सो व्हाट, मैं इधर कमेंट भी डाल देता हूँ कि इफ डाउ इज नल देन initialize it and else return already initialized. मतलब बेसिक सिंगलटन इम्प्लीमेंटेशन है कि अगर नॉन नल है मतलब ऑलरेडी इनिशियलाइज्ड है, अडाओ विच इज़ नॉन नल इज ऑलरेडी इनिशियलाइज वन. तो अगर नॉन नल है तो मैं उसका एज इट इज रिटर्न कर दूंगा क्योंकि ऑलरेडी इनिशियलाइज्ड है. और अगर इनिशियलाइज नहीं है तो उसको इनिशियलाइज कर लूंगा मैं एंड फिर रिटर्न कर दूंगा. सो दिस इक्वल टू नल चेक्स कि अगर इनिशियलाइज नहीं है तो अगर नल हो गया मतलब इनिशियलाइज नहीं है तो इनिशियलाइज कर दिया और फिर रिटर्न कर दिया. अगर ये फॉल्स है तो डायरेक्ट रिटर्न कर दिया. सो दिस इज द बेसिक इम्प्लीमेंट. अब यहाँ पे सिंक्रोनाइजेशन ही डाल रहा है क्योंकि दैट्स अ डिफरेंट कॉन्सेप्ट. ठीक है, अभी इसको यहाँ से कॉल करते हैं. अच्छा, अगर ये जो हमने कोड लैब देखा, अगर इसका प्रॉपर मेरे को पूरा का पूरा कोड देखना है तो आई गेस इन्होंने स्टार्टिंग में दिया होगा. दिस इज द गिटहब रेपो. मैं इसको खोल के इनका प्रॉपर इंटीग्रेशन पूरा का पूरा देख सकता हूँ, पर अभी मैं देखूंगा नहीं. ठीक है, अभी यहाँ पे ऐप डेटाबेस डॉट गेट यूजर डाउ, इधर इसको एक कॉन्टेक्स्ट चाहिए तो मैं इसको दिस डॉट एप्लीकेशन कॉन्टेक्स्ट भी भेज सकता हूँ जस्ट टू मेक श्योर कि वो अपने अंदर से मेरा एक्टिविटी कॉन्टेक्स्ट नहीं यूज करे. ऑल्दो मैंने इसके अंदर कॉन्टेक्स्ट डॉट एप्लीकेशन कॉन्टेक्स्ट डाला है, बट जस्ट टू बी श्योर मैंने यहाँ पे डाल दिया ताकि कोई डेवलपर आके अगर चेंज करे तो आई ऑलरेडी पास इन एन एप्लीकेशन कॉन्टेक्स्ट दैट इज विदाउट डिपेंडिंग ऑन दैट फंक्शंस इम्प्लीमेंटेशन. फिर से अगर मैं इसके अंदर डायरेक्ट कॉन्टेक्स्ट पास कर देता, ऑल दो अभी के लिए मेरे को पता है कि मैं वहाँ पे कॉन्टेक्स्ट डॉट एप्लीकेशन कॉन्टेक्स्ट यूज़ कर रहा हूँ. अगर मान लो कल को कोई आके उसको चेंज कर देगा, सपोज कि उससे मिस्टेक हो गई, बग हो गया, उससे कोई मिस्टेक हो गई सपोज, तो वो मेरा एक्टिविटी का कॉन्टेक्स्ट यूज़ कर लेगा. दैट इज़ अ मेमोरी लीक. वो मेरे को नहीं चाहिए, इसलिए मैं पहले से यहाँ पे एप्लीकेशन कॉन्टेक्स्ट भेजता हूँ. ठीक है, इसको एंड प्लीज़ अगर ये क्लास ले रहे हो तो नेक्स्ट क्लास भी ले लेना. दैट इज़ what more you can do in Android, because this is obviously not the full picture, and from there you'll know ki what else you need to do and what were the things that I left in this bootcamp which you can cover on yourself. ठीक है, अभी यहाँ पर यूजर डाओ, अभी काम करते हैं. यहाँ पे एक न्यू थ्रेड बना लेते हैं इंस्टेड ऑफ यूजिंग को रूटीन्स. थ्रेड बना लिया, स्टार्ट कर दिया. ठीक है, अब इसके अंदर मैं क्या करूँगा, यूजर डाओ डॉट डिलीट. लेट्स फर्स्ट इंसर्ट, हाँ ठीक है, पहले इंसर्ट कर देते हैं यूज़र। इसको यू आई डी, व्हाट वाज दैट, इज दैट वाज ऑटो जनरेटेड, ऑटो जनरेटेड के अंदर ट्रू, अपने आप ही इसको क्या कह रहा है ये, ओनली वैलिड नेम्ड आर्ग्यूमेंट्स आर अवेलेबल फॉर जावा एडिशन। ठीक है, अभी इसको मैं दे देता हूँ, चलो 0 दे दिया, फर्स्ट नेम के अंदर डाल देता हूँ सिद्धार्थ, लेट्स कीप द लास्ट नेम एम्प्टी। ठीक है, अब एक बार ही इंसर्ट कर देगा, देन उसके बाद आई नीड टू गेट दिस डेटा, तो इसको हम लॉक करवा लेते हैं, इसको एक टैग चाहिए, ठीक है, बूट कैम्प, ठीक है, तो बेसिकली क्या कह रहे हैं, अच्छा ठीक है, तो पहले मैंने इंसर्ट कर दिया वर्कर थ्रेड पे, वर्कर थ्रेड इसलिए क्योंकि मैं ही नहीं चाहता कि इसका जो यूआई है वो लैग कर जाए, तो मैंने एक न्यू थ्रेड बनाया, मतलब आई हैव जस्ट टेकन अप दिस टास्क टू अनदर थ्रेड, तो नया थ्रेड पे उसको इंसर्ट कर दिया, एंड अब एक बार उसको गेट करके देख लूंगा मैं कि क्या लॉग में दिखा रहा है। ठीक है, एक बार इसको चला के देखते हैं, सी इफ देयर आर एनी चेंजेस वी नीड टू डू, और इफ दिस क्रैशेस, अच्छा ऑलरेडी रनिंग, अच्छा इसके अंदर लेट्स डिस्कस कि हाउ दिस मेक्स आवर ऐप कॉम्प्लिकेटेड, तो just let's look at the scenario कि सपोज आपने कुछ डेटा फेच करवाया सर्वर से एंड उसको अपने लोकल के अंदर सेव कर दिया, तो रूम हम इसीलिए यूज़ करते हैं क्योंकि मान लो कोई बड़ा सा डेटा है उसको हमने कैश कर लिया, एक क्रैश कर गया, थ्रेड्स अनेबल टू स्टार्ट एक्टिविटी, डाइस रोलर, कैन नॉट फाइंड द इम्प्लीमेंटेशन, इम्प्लीमेंटेशन डज नॉट एग्जिस्ट। अच्छा इसको अभी हम स्टैक ओवरफ्लो कर लेते हैं, दिस इज नॉट creating the implementation for this, okay. वही एरर है, कैप्ट कैप्ट एरर, एक्सटेंशन प्लस लाइव डेटा, पहले प्लगइन डालना पड़ेगा कोटलिन कैप्ट, ठीक है ठीक है, ठीक है, तो ये डाल दिया एंड let's also add these. अच्छा, ठीक है. Let's build this. चला लेते हैं. हम्म. हाँ, तो as you can see we can see कहाँ गया. हाँ, we can see that this data has been inserted. तो पहले हमने इंसर्ट किया, अब यहाँ पे लॉक करवाया, तुमको दिख रहा है सिद्धार्थ और आईडी इसकी वन हो गई. एंड एक और चीज़ देखना कि यहाँ पे यूआईडी मैंने 0 पास करी थी पर यहाँ पे 1 दिखा रहा है. दैट इज़ बिकॉज आई हैव गिवन दिस ऑटो जनरेटेड टू ट्रू. तो वो उसको अपने हिसाब से जो भी होगा उसको बना लेगा, हमें नहीं उसको बनाना, वो खुद उसको बना लेगा. तो एक बारी थोड़ा सा और कुछ कर देते हैं इसमें, बहुत सारे डाल देते हैं. हाँ, आई वॉज टॉकिंग अबाउट कि how does this make Android framework complex? That is because कि suppose let's take an example in the Twitter app. मैंने अपनी home feed खोली and I was on internet. So what that app probably does is कि they take the data from the server, मतलब home feed का data वो उसको उठा लेता है and they put it in the room database, जो भी उनका tweets का database होता है. ठीक है, दैट इज बिकॉज कि सपोज इफ द यूजर गोज ऑफलाइन, देन वी हैव सम डेटा टू शो टू द यूजर. दैट इज द ऑफलाइन वर्किंग ऑफ द ऐप. मतलब मान लो मैंने एक बार ऐप जैसे व्हाट्सएप है, यू कैन ट्राई दिस विद व्हाट्सएप टू, कि आपने एक बार व्हाट्सएप खोला एंड अब उसको बंद कर दो, अब इंटरनेट ऑफ करके अब वापस व्हाट्सएप खोलो, तो ऐसे नहीं होता कि उसको कुछ दिखता नहीं है. यू कैन सी द डेटा यू मतलब सो द लास्ट टाइम. दैट इज बिकॉज व्हाट्सएप गाइज हैव ऑलरेडी कैश दैट डेटा. तो वो क्या करते हैं, अपने लोकल डीबी के अंदर जो उनको मोबाइल के अंदर डेटाबेस है उसके अंदर स्टोर कर देगा. अब इधर कॉम्प्लिकेशन ये आती है कि हाउ विल यू डिफाइन द एल्गोरिदम. मतलब यू हैव टू डील विद द एल्गोरिदम कि आफ्टर हाउ मच टाइम यू हैव टू fetch the data from the server and suppose your data is inconsistent. या फिर सपोज कोई ऐसी कॉम्प्लिकेशन आ गई कि वेयर यू हैव फेच द डेटा बट यू आर अनएबल टू कैश दैट. मतलब मान लो कि आपने डेटा फेच कर लिया पर इतने में जो यूज़र था उसने ऐप बंद कर दी. नाउ यू वोंट हैव द डेटा इन द रूम, राइट? सो यू हैव टू डील विद दैट cases. And it also uh, takes more space obviously. I in 0 dot let's add up to 5. तो हाँ, तो you can see this new data, that is UID1, UID2. तो ये सब users, मतलब you got the basic idea of how to use this room library to save the data in your uh, device. Any doubt till now? थोड़ी सी हल्की सी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड लाइब्रेरी है आई गेस. मतलब बट आफ्टर सीइंग दैट कोड लैब जो हमने देखी थी अभी एंड विद दिस डॉक्यूमेंटेशन, इट्स थोड़ी सी easy हो जाता है. But yeah, you have to work with this in your personal project.
I don't think there are any doubts as of right now, Siddharth.
अच्छा, ठीक है. I guess we'll let's wait for 2 minutes to see if there are any
Yeah,
doubts.
if there are any questions, guys, you can post them in the Q&A section or in the comments and let us know. So, should people who are starting out stuff for their personal projects who want to use Room, they should go through the entire documentation in detail, or any specific sections would be enough?
अच्छा, for the personal project, you just have to deal with this. एक second. You just have to deal with these functions, that is
Mhm.
get in basic CRUD operations. So I guess this much implementation would be okay for any personal project.
Okay.
But like the advanced stuff that I said, key you have to also deal with the migrations.
Mm-hmm.
So but that is not required in any project, side project.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this much implementation will be fine.
Okay. I see. So I think we still don't have any questions. We can go ahead, I think, Siddharth.
Okay. So there is one last thing that I want to cover is suppose let's write a pseudo code for how we'll do this uh, in actual environment. That is how will you cache this data. I'm just writing pseudo code. I'm not actually writing an actual code over here. So how do we fetch and cache the data from server? Okay, so what we need to do, the first step we need to do is get the data obviously. और उससे भी पहले वाला स्टेप है कि before we fetch the data from the server, we need to show the user so that suppose if a user is running on the 2G internet, so it will take time for his phone to get the data from the server. Like suppose maybe 5 seconds. तो उस 5 सेकंड के लिए you can't show an empty screen to the user. तो what you need to check कि if there's any existing data in the room database, then you have to show that to the user. And one more thing that I want you guys to do is if you can find any edge cases in that. Find any edge cases in this. So what I'll do is key get existing data from room. Second is uh, parallelly fetch data from server. ठीक है. डेटा फ्रॉम सर्वर. अच्छा, इसमें तो ऑलरेडी काफी एज केसेस हैं, बट ठीक है, लेट मी नो इफ यू कैन थिंक. इसके अंदर वैसे काफी एज केसेस हैं. थर्ड में क्या होगा कि stored this data in room, then for this now the room acts as a single source of truth. That means ki now you don't have to show the directly fetched data uh, to the user. You have to now fetch the data from the room on itself. तो एक बार आपने रूम के अंदर डाल लिया, अब आपको नेटवर्क से नहीं मंगाना, या जो आपके पास ऑलरेडी नेटवर्क है वो नहीं दिखाना, बिकॉज उससे एज केसेस काफी बन जाते हैं. यू जस्ट हैव टू गेट दिस डेटा एंड शो टू यूजर फ्रॉम रूम इटसेल्फ. ठीक है, तो एक बार इसको फिर से गो थ्रू करते हैं. मैंने क्या किया कि 2 थ्रेड चला दिए मान लो, मतलब थ्रेड आई एम जस्ट ऐसे ही मैं मतलब बिकॉज़ इन दिस बूट कैम्प वी हैव ओनली लुक्ड एट थ्रेड बट यू कैन think of this in terms of any framework that you use for concurrency like Rx, Java, Gova या coroutines कुछ भी या a basic task executor that is a different thing. तो मैंने क्या किया कि स्टार्टिंग में तो get the data from room and show it to the user and show to user ये कर दिया एंड इसके साथ ही मैंने ये वाला टास्क भी इनिशिएट कर दिया दैट इज टू फ्रेश द डेटा फ्रॉम सर्वर. अब जब मेरे पास ये 2 टास्क हो गए, नाउ व्हाट आई नीड टू डू, वंस आई फेच दिस डेटा फ्रॉम द सर्वर आई विल स्टोर इट इन दिस रूम. ठीक है? अब जब स्टोर हो गया तो मैं क्या करूँगा इंस्टेड ऑफ डायरेक्टली शोइंग दैट डेटा आई विल गेट द डेटा फ्रॉम द रूम सो दैट आई विल एलिमिनेट सम एज केसेस एंड ओनली रूम एक्ट्स एज अ सिंगल सोर्स ऑफ ट्रूथ. सिंगल सोर्स ऑफ ट्रूथ का मतलब हो गया आपका कि मान लो आपके पास 10 डेटाबेस हैं या फिर 10 सोर्सेज है वेयर यू गेट द डेटा. तो व्हाट वी हैव टू डू, take it as an architectural solution कि we create a single source of data. तो हम क्या करते हैं जहाँ से भी डेटा मंगाते हैं उसको पहले हम अपने सिंगल सोर्स में डाल लेते हैं एंड वी फेच द डेटा फ्रॉम दैट सोर्स ओनली सो दैट वी डोंट हैव टू डील विद 10 डेटाबेसेस. ठीक है? सो नाउ रूम एक्ट्स एज अ सिंगल सोर्स ऑफ ट्रूथ एंड गेट दिस डेटा एंड शो इट टू द यूजर. तो दिस इज द बेसिक कैशिंग टेक्निक दैट यू कैन implement in a side project. Get the data, show it to the user, and use this algorithm. So if you let me know if you can find any edge cases, or else I'll go ahead and discuss it myself.
It's
If
enough
you
they post it on the comment section, right?
hmm.
So guys, just go ahead, post what you think in the comment section, and we take from there. Could you give an example case of that, just so that everyone has complete clarity? Or...
So suppose कि you are a user and you have opened up WhatsApp, suppose on 1st of November, and you have closed it and you have gone to a trip and turned your Wi-Fi off. मतलब you have turned your internet connection off. And suppose on 15th of November you open your WhatsApp. So will you show that data of 1st November to the user? That is an edge case कि you have to decide. Suppose how old the data is, how much older data you can show to the user, or how much older data is valid. Suppose you have to keep a limit on this कि मान लो 3 दिन से पुराना डेटा मेरे को नहीं दिखाना, even if the user don't have any internet. Another edge case is based on concurrency over here कि you are getting the data and fetching the data from the server parallelly. So does your program handle, ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि आपके सर्वर से पहले आ गया बट आपका डेटाबेस इतना ज़्यादा बड़ा है, मान लो 1000 and 20,000 लाइन्स ऑफ सॉरी उसके अंदर एंटिटीज भरी हुई हैं कि सर्वर से तो पहले आ गया बट आपके रूम से पहले नहीं आ पाया. इन दिस एल्गोरिदम वी अज्यूम कि आपका रूम डेटाबेस से पहले आ जाएगा इंस्टेड ऑफ सर्वर, क्योंकि इन मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द केसेस सर्वर के अंदर डेटा आने में थोड़ा डिले रहता है. मान लो कि 200 मिली सेकेंड्स, बट जो रूम से डेटा आता है दैट इज़ वेरी वेरी क्विक. तो मान लो दैट कम्स इन 20 सेकेंड्स बट 20 मिली सेकेंड सॉरी. तो what if this doesn't happen in actual case? Suppose your code has some bugs and you are actually storing thousand rows of data in the user's mobile. Then a single transaction will cost you even more than it costs you from fetching the data from the server. तो मान लो ऐसा केस भी हो सकता है कि आपका सर्वर से पहले आ गया पर रूम से बाद में आया. तो अभी आपका एल्गोरिदम कैसे चलेगी कि आपने पहले सर्वर से फेच कर दिया एंड उसको रूम के अंदर स्टोर कर लिया, बट उसी के बीच में कहीं पे आपका, क्योंकि पैरेलल चल रहे हैं तो उसी के बीच में कहीं पे आपका ये वाला चल जाएगा कि गेट डेटा फ्रॉम रूम एंड शो इट टू द यूजर. तो यहाँ पे आपकी यू हैव टू मतलब act accordingly and think of these edge cases and handle that, कि parallelly आपका कैसे चल रहा है. हाँ, आई गेस अभी तो यही एज केसेस हैं. ठीक है, सो कैन यू गाइस थिंक ऑफ एनी मोर? मेरे को भी सोचना पड़ेगा. No, मतलब दिस इज अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग. पैरेलली दिस पैरेलल कॉल्स कैन, हाँ, एक और एज केस हो सकता है कि सपोज सर्वर से आपका डेटा आ रहा है. सपोज दिस टेक 5 सेकेंड. सपोज द यूजर इज रनिंग ऑन अ 2G इंटरनेट. तो सेकंड और थर्ड वाला एक्चुअली क्या होना चाहिए, आपका एल्गोरिथम में सीक्वेंशियली चलना चाहिए. मतलब पहले फेच करे और उसके बाद स्टोर करे. मतलब दिस इज वेरी ऑब्वियस थिंग कि सीक्वेंशियली होगी सेकंड और थर्ड वाला स्टेप. तो अगर मान लो सेकंड वाले स्टेप के अंदर 5 सेकंड लग गए और सिक्स सेकंड पे आपका स्टोर दिस डेटा इन रूम, ये वाला स्टेप चलेगा थर्ड वाला. एंड उसके बीच में अगर मान लो यूजर ने आपका ऐप मतलब क्लियर कर दिया, उसको उड़ा दिया, बंद कर दिया, तो ये थर्ड वाला स्टेप रह गया. अब जब आप नेक्स्ट खोलोगे तो उसको फिर से वो पुराना डेटा मिलेगा. तो हाउ विल यू हैंडल दिस? दिस इज अनदर एज केस दैट आई कैन थिंक ऑफ राइट नाउ. ठीक है, आई गेस दैट्स इट इन रूम लाइब्रेरी.
Mm-hmm.
I'll need to send that migration wire link and some code labs so that students can see. So I'm just dropping that in the chat.
Awesome. So I think we can also start posting the links. Actually, we don't think we'll collate all these links and we'll post it on the Discord as well.
Hmm.
And that would be pretty cool. So anything else that you want to cover, Siddharth?
Uh, yeah, you can implement this in your side project. If you have seen that जो हमने पहले retrofit से किया था, you can anytime implement these both libraries and see. In fact, मतलब you can implement all these three libraries, that is retrofit, glide and room,
Mm-hmm.
and create your own side project. तो
Mm-hmm.
उसके अंदर ऐसे ये वाले एल्गोरिथम यूज करना कि पहले गेट द डेटा फ्रॉम द सर्वर थ्रू retrofit एंड साइमल्टेनियसली शो द एग्जिस्टिंग डेटा. एंड फिर यूज दिस, मतलब कहने का मतलब है यूज दिस एल्गोरिथम एंड सी फॉर योरसेल्फ कि हाउ this thing works. And in industry, this algorithm is used widely.
So that this is just me thinking out loud. But can we do something? हमारा like अगला session के लिए can we do like a very basic app के साथ एक code launch कर सकते हैं? So everybody who's attending the session, they can also like open up Android Studio with you and then kind of follow your instructions so that they'll build their own project that they'll be able to play around with and stuff
हाँ
as well.
हाँ, we can.
ऐसा कुछ plan कर सकते हैं ना?
हाँ हाँ हाँ.
तो काफी interesting होगा. I think it was something in the comments as well. So you sent this. Okay. So I think let's close the session here then, Siddharth, and we'll
Yeah.
catch up with everyone next week. इसी time पे I think 3 o'clock सही है ना?
हाँ, I'll let you know if
हाँ,
there are any complications.
ठीक है, cool. So we'll confirm that and let everyone know, mail them and take it from there. Guys, thanks so much for attending. Please make sure you attend the next session. We have some big things planned and stuff. It'll be a little more interactive, a little bit more interesting, and we'll be like announcing a couple of quizzes and stuff like that also. So please make sure you attend this next session that's coming up. All right. Thanks so much, Siddharth, for your time. Thanks to Nishchal as well for coming out for his session also. And we look forward to conducting more sessions like this in the future as well. Big shout out to Celestial Biscuit and GDSC MSIT who've been supporting us for this entire journey as well. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you next week. All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.